So I've randomly selected one of the Fiat 500 engines. Well, actually, it's a 650 engine, so it's out of a later 126. A little bit more power for that tiny little car. I'm just going to have a look to see whether this one's serviceable or not. It's like shearing a sheep, because once I've taken all the tinware off, just the core of the engine will be left. There'll just be a little tiny engine just nestling in the middle there. So just like when you shear a sheep, there's just a tiny little skinny beast left in there. This is all part of the air cooling system, which keeps this engine cool at a running temperature because it doesn't use fluid to cool it down. And once I've actually pulled it apart, we'll be able to see what sort of condition it's in. Hopefully, I've picked the good one first time. I've never taken apart one of these engines before, so I'm doing this more by feel than by absolute judgment. So I'll be learning as I go along. Just take the top off there. Little grubby, little grimy. You've got to expect that from an ancient engine. Here is what amounts to our cooling system. It's in two parts here. We've got a fan here, and this rotates like that. It's driven on the end of the dynamo. And what happens is, air is drawn in through this inlet here, and then the fan, as it spins, pushes it out and around the top and out to these cylinder heads, which have these cooling fins built into them. And that essentially is what keeps the engine nice and cool instead of using water. Right, so I'm going to take off this interesting little device here. So this is an ingenious little device which actually traps all of the dirt and gunk centrifugally. So anything that leaks past the crank here gets flung outside, and that way all the dirt and the nastiness just gets captured centrifugally in this. An ingenious little device. So all we have to do is clean that up and it will be good to go again. Okay, there we go. Carburetor off. Disconnect it. Right, there's some of the breathing apparatus removed. And the pedestal, so that was stopping this rocker cover coming off. There we are. Two teeny little sets of valves. That's all that's needed to operate this tiny little two-cylinder engine. Tight old exhaust bolts and nuts. Come on. Right, now hopefully exhaust system removed. I'm not quite sure that we'll bother using this one again. Right, just a few more little bits. Look at that for a dipstick. Right, there goes the other little bit of tinware. Nice little flap here. That is what's used for heating. So the actual air that passes around the cylinder heads, if you put the heater on, it just operates this flap and the air passes around the cylinder heads and gets pushed out and into the car. Fantastic. So let's remove the rocker gear. That's the rocker gear off. Right, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I can get the cylinder head and the barrels off. Let's get rid of this old gasket. Look at that, rock hard. It's just falling apart. Give it a little tap. Loosen it off, and off it comes. There we are. One cylinder head removed. Can't see anything too problematic apart from these hard white deposits. I tend to find that those appear when people have actually put petrol additives in. It causes that hard white build-up there. In the meantime, let's get the barrels off. Okay, so these are individual cylinder barrels. A bit like on a motorcycle actually. So I can take one entirely off like that. There we go. That is where the piston runs inside of. Now let's just have a little look, because I can see evidence of this cylinder barrel actually having had some work recently. I can see lots of little score marks on here called cross hatching, because what you want to do is break the glaze of the cylinder wall. You don't want it absolutely perfect because you want to get little bits of lubrication in there, and actually this has had some recent work. That's pretty good news. And this one is the same. That is pretty good news. Even though this looks horrible on top of here, the barrels are okay, pistons look fine. I think this is going to be the one that I'm going to rebuild. Looks like a long night for me.